Welcome to another episode of the Being and Doing podcast, where I try to bring you the stories of unique minds that are all around us that will hopefully inspire and maybe challenge your way of being at the moment. So today I have a very, very special guest who I want to introduce first through her song.
I am in love, you are enough, said the moon to the sun now. You are never too much, never too bright. You are enough, you are my light, my
Thank you so much. I was noticing how, as you were singing, I was slowly relaxing.
Oh, that's sweet. I'm happy.
and
I could have that.
I think this is the impression I have from most of your songs, and I'm wondering, is this what's the source for you of this gentleness?
Oh, that's so sweet to call it gentleness. I don't know. It comes from a very place of such love inside me because this song obviously is called You Are Enough. I haven't released this one yet. I haven't recorded it yet. But most of the time it comes from love for someone or even myself. Like if I'm practicing self-love, I feel like my song Self-Love was written because I was feeling deep love for someone in my life that was struggling with mental health at that time. And I felt just so much love for this person that I wanted to write them a letter. And that's where the song came from. It was just a love letter to my friend. And just turned into a song. And I think that's where a lot of my songs come from, is like from a place of love for someone, or a lot of times it comes from a place of gratitude. Like when I'm enjoying nature or enjoying the sunshine, sometimes lyrics flow from me. Like most of the time it would be in nature that I am, and I would pick up any instrument, even if I don't know how to play it, because I didn't know how to play the ukulele. But I was in an Airbnb somewhere in Bali, and they had a ukulele there, and I picked it up, and I didn't know how to play it, so I just plucked a few notes, and lyrics just came from that. But it was a place of peace that I was experiencing because I was right next to a river. So I think a lot of times it's nature that makes me feel really calm. But it's not always from a place of calm. A lot of times I remember this one song I wrote that was a very like powerful healing song about us being all one, but it came from a place of deep fear. I was like extremely afraid. It was when COVID just broke out, and someone really close to me was really sick, and I was really afraid of what's going to happen if they might die. So this song came from me that was really powerful, but not depressing. It wasn't a sad song. It was a very uplifting song and a very healing song. So I think, I don't know, it comes from, I don't know, many, many overwhelming feelings of gratitude or hope or love. And yeah.
Wow, there are many things I want to like go towards, but one thing that comes to me is flow. And on your Instagram page, you have fluidity and the color blue. Your hair is blue, and And I'm wondering, I can imagine this hasn't been so flowy, or it's something you might have to learn or not. And I'm just curious, how do you practice flow, or is it something you're in?
Flow is something that I experience sometimes very easily, very naturally when I'm, like I said, in nature and I'm feeling calm. I think then flow happens more naturally for me. And I think I can get so hard on myself when I'm not always in flow. But I think that's very unrealistic of any of us to expect, because we are in the world that is unpredictable and we can't always have a perfect routine where we force flow. Like I I think that I always wish I'm always in flow, but when I look back at my time and everything I've written in my time, then I think, okay, actually I've had flow enough times. I don't have to be so hard on myself. I do feel like flow is something we can practice, because we can put ourselves into situations that make us feel calm, make us feel focused. Um, I've learned from other writers that they need to sit there and just wait for flow, just like push through, like writing blocks to until flow comes, and you can do that. I'm just not someone who does that. I try not to force flow. I don't know if that works for me. So when I feel peaceful or inspired by nature, or then I feel like it's easier to get into flow. So I can put myself into a calming situation like that and maybe experience flow in that time.
And as you're talking about this, I have this image of a river which actually can encounter resistances, which doesn't mean it doesn't flow.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Like the rocks in the rivers, and for sure, that's a good mental image that you just gave me. I didn't even think of that.
And I'm curious as well. First, we didn't introduce you by name, so
Oh yeah.
You go by Zen. Is that your true name? How did that come to be? What do you identify yourself with?
Okay, I am Zen. That is a chosen name, but it's a chosen name in forever. Like it's not my birth name, but I still like my birth name, but I don't go by it. So it came about because I was performing, and everyone who listened to me, they said that I have a very Zen vibe when I perform. So that's where that came from. And I needed a name that would describe me better. And my birth name is Dutch, so no one would understand that so much. But it means grace, which is also very
Oh, wow.
very graceful, obviously, and very what did you say earlier? I can't remember the word
Gentle.
you used. Gentle, yes. Very gentle energy, but Zen describes it for me better. So that's how that came about. And being non-binary, I wanted to choose a name that represents me better. And yeah, I think that everyone can choose their own names, and we think that we aren't allowed to do that, but actually we're allowed to do whatever we want to do.
Yes.
And yeah, it only bothers me when people don't want to accept Zen as my name. Like the name I give you is my name. So yeah, it's weird.
It is weird. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. And I would love to hear your story of love and Zen. It does really just sitting next to you, although I'm not physically present. I do experience, as I said, as if my muscles are slowly relaxing by just being close to you.
That
And
is so nice.
I am also wondering, creating from a place of love and abundance is something I actually have to practice actively, or even shift towards that, because I was very, as you discussed before, being in my masculine principle for a very long time, forgetting that gentle, nurturing part. So and I don't know for you, but being non-binary is actually accepting the flow inside of us. And I don't know if
Yes.
I'm correct, but this is how I imagine it. And I'm just wondering, was it something you were always aware of, or is something that you were slowly conquering as a freedom?
Are you talking about the non-binary or, well, basically, yes, I think you're right about non-binary being a flow within us, and it's a fluidity for me that I don't have to be one thing that fits into one box. And I think we are mostly taught that we are only one thing and we need to always be that thing. So to find fluidity and flow and find a balance is a practice that we can definitely do. And I remember myself being a lot more masculine in my childhood, very aggressive. And I don't know when the change happened, but I do feel like I get to be more than just one thing now, and I'm finally experimenting with that fluidity that I am. And I think that we all are, but
Mm-hmm.
we so in that box that we are told we have to be in, that it's kind of it's a a challenge to break free from those boxes, and to, if we aren't playing the role that we are told to play, then we are afraid that we might lose the people around us. But the people who really matter, they will accept you for all that you are, and all your greatness and all your fluidity and all your beauty. It's all a balance of masculine and feminine. And I think we do need to practice the balance, because I was very masculine in the past, that was very aggressive. But now I can add more value to people, also embracing my feminine, like bringing that love and peace wherever I go. So I'm a big believer in just being kind, and wherever, when you walk in the street and women look at each other very judgmentally sometimes, or sometimes don't smile at each other, I'm always the one to smile at the women I pass, to show them that there's no need for us to compete, and we can be kind and spread love in that way. I don't know. I'm fine. I feel like I'm just going.
Go for it. No,
Go for
actually,
it.
I'm really enjoying it. Even that flow of your voice is already giving a lot without the words on top. And I'm curious. You said you were mostly in your masculine. What helped you to reconnect to your feminine? Were those events? Were those some kind of practices?
I used to be in Christianity, and people were treating me really badly in the church. And I don't say that Christianity is bad for everyone. Like, I feel like some people might find happiness in that religion, But it wasn't like that for me. And I had a lot of anger because I wasn't being treated well. And when I left, I still had a lot of anger to deal with because of the hurt. And I think over time, I just worked through the anger and released a lot of it. And now I find some humor in the past, and now I feel like I can share love more unconditionally to people. Where in the past I was taught that, you need to convince people to become a part of your religion. And if they don't, then you don't love them as they are anymore. You move on from them. And I also felt that in the religion that, like, once I left, those friends didn't stay my friends, which meant they didn't love me unconditionally. So after I left, I felt like I could learn how to love people unconditionally and for whatever they are. And even if they are in religion and other religions, I don't look down on them anymore. Like, I can just be like, we just don't need to judge each other so harshly anymore. Like, I don't know, maybe that plays a part in where the softness came from, that I could leave a place that I wasn't happy in. There's someone sweeping behind me now.
That's fine. And I am also curious about your journey, because you're now a world traveler, if I can say so. But you said you're originally from South Africa, and I'm curious about your growing up there, and what has that brought you and taught you, which you could bring with you, and what are maybe some collective unconsciouses that you needed to break through to get some freedom.
Oh, there's so much there in that question. Firstly, South Africa, for me, it made me very polite and very considerate of everyone around me, which wasn't always a good thing. I always thought it's a good thing to be super considerate of people, but we were colonized by the British, which they brought like a very polite way of relating to people, and you don't speak your mind and you don't stand up for yourself because that would be considered rude. And so there was a lot of things I had to unlearn. Like, I had to learn to not be so considerate, to not make myself so small, to take up space and not be so apologetic. That's still something I'm working on, that it's like not so suppressed. I need to just be and take up space. And that's something that I feel like South Africa contributed to me. And another thing, that when I started traveling, you learn so much about other people and other cultures, but I realized that I walk around in fear a lot, because South Africa has its issues with safety for women, and being a woman passing, I was always walking around very fearfully, and meeting other travelers who were solo female travelers, I was very inspired and in awe and confused at how they can feel so confident to travel on their own. And I had to unlearn. I don't know, I'm still working on that as well. Like, I have to unlearn feeling so afraid, because a lot of these solo travelers come from European countries where it's maybe more safer than where I come from. And it was surprising to me to see their attitude towards traveling, and my attitude was so different. And I felt like that was a trauma from my country, that I have to work through as well. And wherever I go, I'm not saying it's 100% safe. I'm just saying that coming with that energy that I am safe and I am going to be okay. Nothing's going to happen to me. That's a privilege that certain people have that they don't even know about because they come from safer places. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just spoke about the negatives about it. But another thing, a positive from South Africa is definitely that we are so diverse and you love diversity around you. You don't want to see just one type of person around you. And I feel like South Africans are more accepting of all types of people and from all backgrounds, and we are a more diverse people. I love that about South Africa. I love that there's some South Africans all over the world and they all look different. And
yes.
yeah, that's something I love about us.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I would not have known that until I have come to London. Because I don't think until I came here I knew anyone from South Africa, and then you would see people, as you say, with enormous diversity, skin color, everything, and they would tell me I'm from South Africa, and I would be like, what's this range about? I just have never imagined that there is so much diversity. So yeah, I could already see that here. And actually, another thing I wanted to add, I can also relate to what you're saying. So I'm originally from Serbia, and we have been a war-stricken country and also very patriarchal. And so that fear, sometimes it's about being a woman, sometimes it's just for being. It's very familiar to me, and it takes a while for the nervous system to actually adjust to a new normal. So I can very much relate to that. And I'm curious, what was the process of deciding to venture into the world, and how difficult was that? And what did you do actually? What did you do in South Africa before this happened?
In South Africa, I was doing a few jobs before I started music because I feel like as a child, I was told that there's no money in music. So I tried not to do music, even though it was in my bones. I tried to do other jobs to make money. And then I started music, and I started recording and releasing songs and performing. And then I said to my partner that I really want a break. I want a holiday. I want to get out of South Africa for a bit. And I've never been, I haven't been, I have been abroad, but not as an adult. So we decided to go to Bali, and I sold my car to buy tickets.
Oh,
And yeah, and then when we were in Bali, we were there for like 3 months when COVID happened, and then our flights home got cancelled. And then we were stuck, and I was freaking out. But then I realized that, okay, we're in Bali. It's good. We
not
are
such
in
a
a
bad
good
place to be
place.
stuck in. Yeah.
Yes. And the COVID was so chilled over there. Like lockdown was really chilled. We weren't feeling like prisoners in our own homes. So I got really lucky. And then I stayed the whole year. And but while we were after our flights got cancelled, we decided to sell everything back home because we can't keep paying for things that we're not using, like our apartment and stuff. So we got rid of everything, and we just kept traveling after that. So we stayed in Bali for the difficult COVID time, and then we kept traveling to Turkey and Ireland and yeah, a lot of other places. So it's like the universe pushed me into that direction. And
Yes.
I feel like I've learned so much about myself in that time. And discovered so much because I was so confused about what I want to do with my life. And I know I was doing music, but I still felt like I don't know if this is my purpose. And I was facing a lot of like voices. So I feel like I've finally figured out that this is what I want to do. Music. I want to make music and I want to add value in that way. So this traveling has been such a blessing for me.
Wow. There is another resonance, which is Bali was also my let's say safe haven, or there is this very special energy there for me, and I have very good friends there. And it's really interesting that that's the first place you have gone to, because I don't know, I just felt it's almost like a source of creativity for me. If I would say, like, Earth has several places that have different energies for me, and Bali is all about creativity. I don't know what your experience was.
I agree, totally agree. I wrote a lot of my songs there. So definitely there's a creative energy, and I even shot some music videos there. And I think that it's also that all the people who come, a lot of them are creative people as well. So like you get to collaborate with them. And a lot of the people who live there long term, I think that they are people who explore who they are and people who are trying to find who they are. So it's a very, we create who we are there, and it's a very creative energy for sure. I think that the people combined also bring that energy that, yeah, I can't really remember the word now, but the people contribute to that creative energy as well, definitely. But also the nature, it's in abundance. So, like you were saying, you don't always have to flow out of a place of abundance, but you felt it in Bali. Like it's very abundant in nature and beauty. So I think that's a creative space, definitely. Yeah.
And
that's so cool that you were always also there.
Yeah, no, that was, and I actually have a lot of I have interviews with two friends who I met in Bali, actually.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, and so I'm also curious about your traveling, and what are the parts of yourself that you have discovered or newly discovered in your travels?
Well, being non-binary was one of it. I think I only gave language to it once I was in Bali. I didn't have a big like queer community there, but I just found that I don't feel like I fit into these boxes anymore. So I wanted to be something outside of these boxes, that I could be more expansive. I felt that in Bali, and there are a lot of things like I said before, also wanting to do music. I feel when you travel, you do a lot of things, a lot of exploring, a lot of fun things, and touristy things. But then it made me feel like, how am I contributing to the world? So I was so I was struggling so much mentally with, how am I contributing, and how do I want to contribute? How can I contribute in a way that makes me happy as well? So finally realizing that I can do that with music, because many people reach out to me on my social media saying that self-love has helped them, and they love the song. And so I realized that I write in a way that adds value, and I enjoy writing in that way, and that's a way I can contribute to the world. So that's something I also discovered about myself, where I was so confused before, and I discovered that while traveling. Um, I don't know. I just also discovered that I am very expansive in how much love I can give and receive, and also I discovered that I am not a crazy loud party person. I'm okay now with who I am and being the person who drinks tea and likes to rest and have a lot of me time to enjoy my own company, and I'm that type of person. And I discovered that as well, where in the past I might have been more outgoing, and that things don't please me so much anymore. I enjoy being at home with a friend instead of being at a party. And so that's also something I think I discovered about myself.
That's really beautiful, because it sounds like you're aligning yourself with your authenticity.
Yes. That is such a thing for me. The theme of my life right now is finding authenticity and just being 100% authentic. I hope to do that and not care about what other people think at all. Just be 100% authentic.
And I'm wondering, in your journey, what is maybe a pain or a challenge, in addition to what you described with the coronaviruses, that you think shaped who you are now and today?
Oh, a challenge. I've gone through some challenges with traveling in terms of certain places, the immigration, the government not being so kind to foreigners because some of them might be a bit corrupt, and corruption is everywhere. So I'm not putting that on any one country, but having bad experiences with immigration in the past, and um, I've also experienced some like racism towards South Africa. Not that I'm not even a person of color, and I've experienced it because of my passport being South African. And there's a few like things like that I've experienced, and that has made it's given me a reference point to the fact that I can always make it through anything hard, that it's given me a reference point that the universe always comes through for me. And even when I can't see the way out of a situation, I am here, I'm thriving, I'm alive and kicking, and I those situations that's hard with traveling has given me such a reference point to go back to and be like, I know I'm in a difficult situation now, but look at the past. The universe has always worked everything for my good, and I am gonna get through this. This is not as bad as what my brain is telling me. To have like perspective. So those challenges has given me perspective for future challenges, because you always go through it. Traveling is tough when you have to do a lot of research about where you're going, and if anything is missing that you need to get into a country or to leave, then they get very strict. So it's challenging always traveling, and not just being on holiday, like always dealing with foreign officials or um yeah I think it's made me stronger and more resilient, and shown me how much strength I have in me.
And it's interesting. It sounds like what you have done is what psychologists would describe as optimal frustration. So it's this kind of level of frustration which is just enough so that you can grow and go forward, that it doesn't really drag you down. And I'm actually curious, when you're traveling, what is in your luggage?
What is in my luggage? I have my ukulele with me. I used to travel with the guitar, but it's too big. So ukulele is perfect. And I have my laptop and I have a yoga mat. Um, always. And I enjoy yoga right so much, but I am not doing it right now because recently I went bungee jumping and afterwards I had vertigo. So now every time I bend forward, I feel so dizzy. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not doing that right now. And another thing in my luggage is I have a lot of colorful clothing. In the past, I when I started traveling, I had like basics, only black, white, and denim. And I thought that's how you have to travel, but I can't I can't constrict myself to just that travel outfit. I'm very expressive in my appearance and my how I dress. So I have very colorful clothing and what else? I have a journal and I have my paint with me. I like to paint wherever I go. And yeah, that's I can't think of anything specific now that I have. I did have crystals with me. I don't have it right now. It's in the city, but yes, that's
Wow.
all, I
This
think.
is interesting is that your luggage says so much about you and there are so many facets beyond your music that seem to be present there.
Yes, I
Quite
feel like that
interesting.
all came to be also with the traveling, like you discovering, oh, I like this, and I need to be myself fully. So I need to have these things with me always.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Just before we started the podcast, my computer was crashing, and I was thinking, ah, yeah, that's because I have this and this and this and this, and I was like, yeah, I will never be a minimalist. I had this thought literally just before we started this podcast, and
No,
it's
wait,
really
it's so accurate.
yeah, it's really interesting. And then another thing that came to my mind is uh, I had a similar journey, except my travel was very much inwards, but I discovered the same things. I mean, I was in one room, but then I felt like I traveled the whole world because of the podcast and because I was able to connect with so many people. So it's very interesting how physical travel is not the only way.
For sure. I think that sometimes we put physical travel on a pedestal, but there are other
Yes.
ways to travel and grow and find yourself. There's not just the one way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. And so I also wanted to ask you, because this podcast is also partially about redefining how we see success. And I'm wondering, what do you think success is, and whether this is something that you actually even think of as a concept anymore?
Yeah, I used to get so hung up on success because it's so taught to us since birth that you have to be successful, you have to be rich, and you have to all have all these things to be successful. And you have to be successful so that you can be worthy.
Yeah.
And oh, that's been such a challenge. But from the get go, from when I started traveling, I was like, what is my purpose and what is success? And I think right now for me, it would just be doing what I enjoy doing. And with traveling, I travel so much recently that I'm not always doing what I am in that what I want to do, like make music and write, and I'm not always collaborating with people musically and stuff. So I think it would just be to do what I enjoy doing and with the people around me who I enjoy having around me and not stressing about things like money. And if I can be in a place where I'm comfortable and I'm doing what I love and there's people I love around me, I think that just sounds ideal to me. That just sounds like success to me. And being my own person as well, like being totally authentic, where I'm not afraid to be myself authentically. That to me also sounds like success. And no one, not feeling like there's any rules on me and my body or my life, me making my own rules. Yeah, like that. I think that sums it all up, like that freedom to be authentically myself, to do what I love doing with the people I love around me, and not in constant worry about my basic needs being met. So, and also being in nature. I think that's very important to me. When I'm in the city too long, I start to feel a bit crazy. I need nature around me as well. Yeah, that sounds like a perfect situation to me.
And I'm curious about the resistances to what you are describing, as in, what do you think was in your process a truth about reality or yourself that you feel like you have been like unwilling or resistant to accept in order to be fully authentic?
There's so much, because um, I'm so brainwashed from culture and society that says this is the one way to be. So it's very hard to release certain things, to because you don't feel like you'll be accepted by others and by your family or friends. And there are other things, like when you travel too much, like I've sometimes I do travel too much. That's also a resistance to expressing myself authentically, because you're always moving around, you're not making friends, you know, you want to have a friend group that you can express yourself with fully. And other things, like especially family, if you like want to come out as bi or something like me, that's hard to do when your family is religious. And when you come out as not religious anymore, that's hard, because your granny might think you're going to hell. So those are things that make you not express fully authentically. And yeah, just breaking through certain societal norms like monogamy, and there's only one way to look and love and express. Those are things that are always in the way that you have to push through. And that's where the friends come in that I was talking about earlier. Having friends who love and accept you exactly as you are, you need those. And if you are always traveling, then you don't have those always. I have such good friends and a partner who, they love me so much as I am, and they are always open for more of me to come out and more fluidity to happen, and they are not restrictive on who I am. So breaking through societal norms is difficult, and you need to find your people to express fully with. So yeah, I would say family, being afraid of letting your family down or being judged by your family or society, those are big things that restrict from me expressing fully. I hope I answered the
Yeah.
question. I
No,
don't
no, you
know.
have. You definitely have. And I'm also wondering, in kind of coming towards your authenticity, and you mentioned writing self-love for a friend who was struggling with mental health. Um, how do you keep that part of yourself contained, nurtured, And also, how do you talk and think about mental health?
For me, have been doing therapy online while I'm traveling. So for me, I like to, if someone invites me to something and I have a therapy session, I would say, oh, and I can't, I have therapy, and it's very normal the way I speak about it. It's not a scary taboo thing for me. I like to mention it as if it's, I have a coffee date with someone else. Like, it's so normal. We need to just chat about it normally. It's not, there's nothing wrong with us if we're doing therapy, and it's good to have professionals who can help us see different perspectives and help us work through things with coping mechanisms that are healthier for us. So I like to talk about therapy. It's very, very chilled in my world for people to talk about. And I like that to check in with friends. And I my friends do know that I am someone that they can talk to about these things. And I also love to journal. It's something I can journal for hours, and that's so helpful for me. Um, Journaling is so helpful, and being in nature as well, it's so helpful. When I'm in an apartment in the city, it's I can feel very like I can't leave. I feel too anxious to leave. So it's very nice being in nature. That's very helpful. And I'm just someone that's like very wholesome in a way that I don't drink, so I know I won't ever have like hangovers, and in that way I can nourish myself with, water and tea. And in certain ways I have a healthy lifestyle. I'm not going to say I'm like the healthiest person, but I take care of myself in a healthier way in terms of, not smoking or drinking, or those aren't my vices. And I'm not saying I don't turn to other things when I'm coping with stuff. Like when I'm coping with difficult feelings, I sometimes will turn to social media and just like distract my brain. And but knowing that I'm using social media as a way to distract also gives me self-love to myself, to be soft on myself, to know that I'm only doing this because I'm going through something and I'm needing to cope. And social media as a coping mechanism it's not so evil, it's not so bad. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. um yeah, so I feel like I'm losing your question, but
No, actually, I think what I heard you saying is basically that you have your ways to cope, and that one of them is having therapy, and that other ways are just having some good care of yourself. And actually, self-love is very much about that. Is giving the love you so much give away to yourself. Yeah.
yes, and not being hard on yourself when you're not being that self-loving towards yourself,
Yeah.
because then you're just adding more not love to your body and to your mind. It's We just need to be soft. Like, we all go through things. And that was my New Year's resolution, my on my birthday this year, that I would be softer with myself, that I I can do many things um to sorry, I'm not losing my track of thought. I told myself I would be softer on myself, because it doesn't help if I'm not soft. And it's not self love if I'm saying, you should be doing yoga, you should be doing this. Like, those things are good to do, but if you're not doing them, don't break yourself down because of it. That's not self-love either.
Yeah, don't use
So
them as
yeah.
another punishment, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And another question around your songwriting and in your expressing yourself is, I have never seen you performing, and I'm wondering, as in not recorded things, and I'm just curious, how do you connect with the audience, and what does that bring to you?
I haven't performed in a while actually, because I performed a lot in South Africa, and then in Bali I performed, and but then you weren't really allowed to perform in Bali because you need a special visa for that. So if anyone hears this, don't do it. Like, you should be prepared before you perform. And then after that, I've been traveling a lot. So I haven't been performing so much. I've only more been writing and creating, which is the part I enjoy more. I enjoy the creativity part of things and making videos, like music videos, and releasing all of that. But when I do perform, I I try not to focus on like connecting with the people, because that's an outward thing to do. I try to connect with the song and with the feelings I have with this song, so that people can connect with that expression of my feelings towards the song, or the energy of that song. If I can connect to that, the people can connect to that energy as well. So it's, if you're just looking at people to try to connect, it's not, there's no depth there. Looking at people is just one thing, but if you can connect to the energy of the song, of the message of the song, people will connect with that, because they will see it and they will feel it and they'll connect to that energy. And hopefully I will be performing again soon, when I visit South Africa in the near future. So that would be great to do.
So just to close up, I will ask you just few like rapid fire questions. But before we go to those, I'm wondering, is there anything that you want to add that you feel like I haven't asked?
Oh, not that I can think of. Um, I would just say maybe that people people shouldn't be hard on themselves, and create just for the fun of it, and create just because releasing things from in you is more important than the end result, and it's more important than success, achieving success. And just do it for yourself. And I I would just say that, be soft, create for fun, create for yourself, and not for end results. Like, yeah. And yeah.
Mm. Another thing I'm curious, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I have many. I know so little about you. Like, how long have you been doing this? And what is your self-love practice that we can learn from, maybe? Yes.
So the podcast I have been doing since actually the start of the pandemic. I have always wanted to do it. I just didn't really have the I don't know, the structure for it. I wasn't sure what I wanted it to be about. And then somehow I had a really good friend I live with during the pandemic that we interviewed each other. And then we had like a post interview kind of integration. And she actually created a name. It wasn't even me. And then somehow everything kind of fell beautifully into
Wow.
that. Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's a
this,
flow. That sounds like a flow.
yeah, it definitely was a flow. It definitely was a flow. And in terms of self-love practice, I think I'm slowly practicing to not have a practice, as in like to not have a practice that is rigid and structured, but more how do I connect to myself in this moment and just listen, and then from that place of listening, understanding what is it that now I know I need. But I also got to this place by learning a lot of different ways of expressing myself. So I have these drawings that I'm doing, and I also love to sing Serbian traditional music. So at the moment I'm like,
Wow.
yeah. So I'm learning how to basically externalize it, because a lot of it is still very much trapped inside. And then yoga is definitely a go-to for me because I'm also a yoga teacher.
Wow.
Weightlifting. Um,
Oh.
I love weightlifting. You can't see here, but I do have like a squat rack here and
Oh.
weights. Um, and I think these conversations are an act of self love with me. They're very nurturing because I connect with just wonderful human beings, and I don't think there's. I feel very seen by many of the people I interview. Uh, yeah, that's another thing that's very nurturing for me. So therapy as well. So and therapy is also something that I feel like saved my life, literally.
Wow.
So yeah, I think there are many things that I kind of learned just kind of by collecting these small pieces and books. Books are I love books. So
Yeah. Is there a specific one you're reading right now?
yeah, so that's the one I showed you. Go only as
Oh,
fast
yes.
as your slowest part. But there are plenty on my list. And I think at the moment I'm really immersed in like Jungian and depth psychology. So analyzing fairy tales and thinking about fairy tales and yeah, and also there's a one woman therapist that I am working with, and she has this book about it's called Nurturing Your Heart with Your Brain in Mind, and I really love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it sounds like there's so many beautiful facets of you. And I love what you're saying about like listening. That's so invaluable. Like, am I saying invaluable? It's so valuable because like listening is like that is so true. Like I can have a schedule of what to do, but to listen to what I need right now, that is such self-love. If you can listen, yes,
Mm.
that's so good.
And it's a practice, I have to say. There is sometimes I still try to fit myself in a box and like this high, like you planned this, why is not done today? And da 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 da. Da. But it's luckily because I had a wonderful therapist who is very feminine, gentle, and nurturing. I think I'm slowly, just because of her presence and energy, I think that's why I learned it, or I'm learning it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Therapy is awesome, people. It's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah. Definitely.
We
Definitely.
all need it.
Yeah. So to finish the questions I have for you, one is, what is an absurd thing about you that not many people know about?
Absurd. Oh. I feel like that's such a difficult question because I feel like everything that other people might see as absurd, I've like, no, that's normal. Like everything about me is normal. You might think it's weird, but it's not. Um, oh, so difficult. I don't know. Absurd. Oh, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life ever. I don't know if that's absurd. I think everyone's done it. I don't know.
I guess it is absurd in this day and age.
I don't know. I've smoked other things, but not a cigarette. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's absurd enough.
It's fine. We can stay with that. And if something comes to your mind, you
If I
can
think
share
of
it.
anything, I'll tell
Yes.
you.
Or even if you think of something afterwards, I can write it in the show notes.
Okay. Okay. You can make a little asterisk and
Yes.
say.
Yes. And then actually I had this question, but I didn't ask you. But what do you think love is?
I think love is an energy that makes people feel safe and accepted and at peace with themselves. I think that's what love is. I think love comes in many forms though, because love from a parent could be in a way to provide for us, and they might not know emotionally how to create a safe space for you otherwise emotionally, but love can be a way you provide for someone. Maybe love is a way that you lift someone up, you know. You either lift them up by providing for them, or you lift them up by creating a safe space for them, or you lift them up by making them feel seen. I think that is how I see love.
And then what thing you think have become more important, and which things have become less important for you with age?
Less important things would be malls and cities, and consumerism maybe would become less important these last few months. And more important, I would say, community, where you feel loved and accepted. That's become very important. And rest has become very important to me. More than before, I think. Yeah, rest. And as well as authenticity, it's become very important to me. And less important is being fitting in. Fitting in has become less important. And I hope it will become even less important. And more important would just be authentic. And your people will find you when you are authentic.
That's very, very true. Well, I would like to finish here, and I'd really like to thank you. It's really a privilege to witness your uniqueness and to have the chance to talk to you. So thank you a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are such a radiant being. I loved being in your presence in this interview. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor.
You have just heard the story of Zen, a nomadic singer-songwriter artist originally from South Africa. Her name came about when members of audiences repeatedly informed her about her very Zen vibes. That should also give you an idea of the sound of her music. She would describe her music as melodic, full of heart and deep meaning. She pours love and honesty into her writing, and many listeners have concurred. For updates about her new music and travel, check out her Instagram @ZentianBeing. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and please share, like, and subscribe so that these stories can reach more people.